Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on Instagram SEO, tips to increase your reach. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter is Nalini Goolsarran, and more Nalini in just a minute. But first, some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling that you can access either in person, via video, telephone, email, or whatever's convenient to you. And you can do that by using the yellow bit.ly link on the screen or by going to our website and clicking on Request a Mentor link. Secondly, we offer about 150 educational workshops and webinars throughout the year, like the one today. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar is this Thursday, February 23rd at noon. The topic is Networking Like a Pro, How to Get Business from Networking, with Mila Kalmer presenting. Again, you can find more specifics on that on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. If you're on our website, we also have a large number of recorded webinars that cover a wide range of business topics. These can be viewed at any time by clicking on demand webinars. Just some logistics about today's event. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of Nalini's prepared presentation, but you can ask a question at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can just type the question in. We'll take as many as we can up until the top of the hour. We will end our webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or so. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Nalini Goolsarran. Nalini is the founder of EdgeSpace Marketing and is passionate about transforming business practices and streamlining communications. She has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems and experience in IT, project management, and communications. Before becoming an entrepreneur, she was an Associate COO for a division of a global financial institution. She believes in the strength of her community and regularly volunteers for organizations and causes that empower the next generation. I'll now turn it over to Nalini. Nalini, it's all yours.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So we're going to be talking quite a bit about SEO for Instagram. Many of you may know SEO for your website, but today we're going to talk about how to use it on Instagram. So what we're going to talk about are what your ranking factors are, how to build an audience profile and content strategy, how to understand the Explore algorithm and how all of it works together. We're also going to talk about the importance of community engagement. If I can give you one tip to take away today, community engagement is the biggest thing you can do to grow your following on Instagram. Posting all the time won't get you followers the way that community engagement will, and we'll talk about that in detail. We'll talk about how to use hashtags strategically. While hashtags have been deprioritized a little bit, it is no longer necessary to find 30 hashtags. We still need a few of them. And then we're going to talk about how to optimize your profile for search or searchability. So let's start with what is Instagram SEO. So let's start with SEO. SEO means search engine optimization. Most of you might be familiar with this for your website. It's a very common term used over there now, but on Instagram, the captions are now all searchable. So now we have a lot of opportunity to have our content found on Instagram. So why is social media marketing so important? It allows you to connect with your customers and influence them so that they can become customers. Your potential customers right now, they may not know who you are, they may not know what you do, and this is your opportunity to become a person that they want to do business with or a business that they want to do business with. The biggest part and success to your SEO, whether it is your website or whether it's your social media, it's understanding what your audience wants. We as a business, we want to tell them all the time, this is what we do, this is how we do it. But the reality is that we're constantly selling to them, doesn't convince them. What we need to do is position ourselves as experts, as we know what we're talking about, that we can create value, we help them, right? Because the reality is that the marketplace is very big, and how do you stand out? As a business owner, we're looking for conversions. That's the first step, right? To getting sales, we need a conversion. But it starts with awareness. The client has to know who you are. They have to be interested in doing business with you. And then they have to have the desire to actually move forward. So a lot of times you'll see this as a marketing funnel. I've laid it out a little differently, but it is essentially your marketing funnel. Starts with awareness, comes down to interest, desire, all the way to conversion. The thing to keep in mind, particularly with digital marketing and social media marketing, is people do business with who they know, like, and trust. Your goal on social media is to become someone they know, be likable, and build digital trust with them. And that's really hard when it's not people you're conversing with or that you can speak to. So let's talk about how we do that. So let's first talk about what is Instagram SEO. Those of you who are familiar with Instagram or have used it for a while may know that in the past, the only things searchable on Instagram were hashtags. Last year, they finally changed that, and the entire caption is searchable. As business owners, as marketers, this is actually making our life a lot easier because we are now able to showcase our expertise and talk more about what we can do and how we can help them. What we want to do is tailor our content so that it shows up in as many places as possible. That is search results and suggested content. Now, for those of you who avidly use Instagram, you may know that your feed, which is the homepage, goes up and down. Is content from people who you follow. These may be your friends, your family, celebrities, local businesses, faraway businesses. But it also now has a section called suggested content. We're starting to see content that we didn't actually, quote unquote, subscribe to. We didn't follow that. Instagram says, you know what? We think you'll be interested in this because of your behavior on Instagram, other content you've liked, things people send you, things you spend more time looking at, and Instagram tailors your content. Remember Instagram's goal. Instagram's goal is to keep us, the users, in Instagram as long as possible. That means the content has to be engaging and interesting so that we don't get bored, frustrated, and leave. When someone searches for a relevant keyword or hashtag in the Instagram search box, you want your content or account to appear near the top of the list. I've given you 2 examples here of how the search works. I will get into breaking down the different parts of it in a little bit, but you can see here by searching the term gardening, before even getting to the top post, Instagram's already suggesting themes that I should post. It's trying to autocomplete for me. It's also showing me pages that it thinks I might be interested in. And then when I hit enter, which brings me here to this last spot that shows me posts, it's trying to show me these are posts that are either top rated or align with my search behavior and my content interests. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. So let's talk about your Instagram ranking factors. The goal of Instagram is to show content to people who might find it interesting. That's something to keep in mind. It's not for us to sell our products unless we're actually setting it up as an ad, right? If you're posting organically, you want to post content that people may find interesting. So what Instagram is doing, it is taking the relevance of the query. What that means is the search results. So on the previous screenshot, I showed you gardening. Then it's saying the user activity, me as a creator who created the content, and the user who's looking for the content. Instagram is saying, okay, their search behavior, the patterns, the things they like, the things they're interested in, we think they align. And that's how your content can show up in front of people that you've not used before. Then it's also going to say, what are the ranking factors? The volume of the search results, the number of time people have liked it, shared it, people that follow you based on that particular post. Instagram has all of those numbers. And this is how people go viral. The more people that see you, the more you're going to get seen. And that's part of where your community engagement will help you that when we get to that part. And essentially all of this is fed into the Instagram algorithm. And when somebody types in a search, they then get tailored so that their results are what they want to see, the end user wants to see. So we as business owners have to come up with a way to tap into our target audience's interests. And I'm going to show you how to do that momentarily. So what we have to do is build a content strategy. When we're building our content strategy, we need to know who our target audience is. You can guess, or you can make some informed decisions. Let's start with their demographic information, their behavioral information, psychographic, and geographic. So what does that mean? Demographics include age range, gender, nationality, ethnicity, occupation, income, and family size. Now, some people have asked me in the past, why does their income and family size matter to the demographic information? If you have a luxury product that only fits a certain clientele based on the price point, that's going to be important to know. People who are at a certain wealth factor may share certain interests. They may have certain likes that you may want to say, okay, they are like, we live in Connecticut right now. Greenwich and Darien, we know are our wealthiest neighborhoods. Are there factors about those folks that can inform the type of content we're posting? Family size matters, particularly if you're selling products that pertain to married couples, people with partners, or people with children, aunties, uncles. There's some things to think about where, for example, if you're selling products for children, you may not want to just sell to the parents. You also need to speak to the family members who buy presents for those kids, right? That's why family size matters. When you get into the behavioral side of it, this is where you're making some informed guesses. What is their brand loyalty like? Most importantly, what is the benefit sought? Something to think about when you're thinking about your marketing effort, particularly digital marketing, is when somebody is going to buy a product, the reason they're buying it is very, very important. Why do they need a new sweater? To stay warm, to be fashionable? Why do they need a new car seat for their child? Functionality? Is it size? Is it color? Those are some of the things you need to consider when you're looking at benefits sought. User status, usage rates. These are how people use Instagram. So if you're looking, we're talking about Instagram here, but if your target audience is older, perhaps 55, 65 plus, it's possible that they're mostly on Facebook. So Instagram is only part of your marketing strategy. If you're looking at a younger audience, say 35 and younger, we know that maybe only 1% of those users are on Facebook. Instagram is where you need to be looking. That's why user status and usage rates comes in. The occasion, if there's special occasions tied to the work that you're doing or the products you're selling. And then of course, readiness to buy. This is part of your marketing funnel. You have awareness, interest, and desire to buy. So if somebody's looking online, comparing pros and cons, or they're looking for your services, they may be ready to contact you. They may not be yet. So these are things to consider. When you're looking at their geographic traits, you're thinking about region, country, population, even climate comes into play. If you're selling winter gear, but you're based in Miami, you might want to consider, okay, well, I can't market to a Miami population selling winter gear for Miami. I'm thinking of the Miami population that'll vacation in colder temperatures. This is where understanding that that's something that you can use as a content piece if that's your target audience. And then lastly, the psychographic traits. This is their lifestyle, personalities, values, and interests. Values and interests have become more and more important for small businesses. For many of you that have been doing this for a while, the rule of thumb has always been you stay politically neutral, you stay out of anything that could be offensive and things like that. What's happening now is the younger generation that now have the buying power, they're looking to align themselves with companies who share their values. They want to know, you as the owner of the company, you as a company, what do you believe in? Do you believe in climate change? Do you believe in rights? Those kind of things. Now, as a business owner, it's a difficult space to navigate, but you may want to consider topics that can share your values while staying neutral. It's a bit tricky, and you would normally share that stuff to your Insta story, not necessarily to your feed, so you're not trying to make your feed politicized, but it's something to keep in mind. Is that, for example, if you're in the sustainability space, people want to know that you are a business owner, are living your brand. Are you living sustainably? So you show them that. So things like that, people are just looking for that alignment now. So how do you break down your content layers? Here's an example where if I were to take the general topic of SEO, my business name is EdgeSpace Marketing. And then here are some content ideas for my specific brand offering. We have easy to implement SEO tips, SEO ranking factors, understanding SEO. Technically, I could take the same presentation and almost every slide I could turn into some type of social media marketing piece, as long as I'm using it as an explainer or an education tool rather than a selling point. So how do you know what your audience wants? The first thing I recommend is to compile a broad list of topics and subtopics. So in the previous slide where I showed you those content layer breakdowns, that's a way of starting that activity. And then when you get into even going back a slide, when you get into your specific brand offerings and content ideas, take these and break them down even further if you need to. Then you want to think about certain things and ask yourself some questions. What topics are related to what you do? So it doesn't always have to be you talking specifically about, in this case, let's say SEO. So we know my three main areas are SEO, social media management, and web development. Adjacent topics is what I like to call it, could be things like online forums, setting up Eventbrite. These are ancillary things that help businesses, but they aren't necessarily direct service offerings that I market publicly, right? There are things that I offer my clients who are in contract. Those are some things to think about. I can break those down a little further and give you micro topics in that space, but that's kind of the idea of how you navigate that. Then you want to start thinking about what topics and trend your target audience is passionate enough about to discuss online. This is where values come in. You don't have to guess at this. Go on social media, type in the topic that you're looking for. I'm going to use gardening as an example for a lot of the slides today. You can go in and see what the conversation is happening underneath the post. What questions are they asking the poster? What type of content is the poster sharing? There's nothing wrong with looking. This is market research. Go look at your competition, see what they're saying, see what they're doing, seeing how people are responding to it. I would not recommend copying exactly what they do, but use it for inspiration and see what type of questions people are answering that you yourself can answer. And then you also want to now start thinking about, are there common pain points that you can solve in 1 minute or less? Now, when I say solve in 1 minute or less, that means verbally, like you can speak it out. Usually Instagram Reels, TikToks, they're a little bit longer than 1 minute now, but 1 minute is still about the cap that you want to be at. The reason for that is people lose their attention right around 8 seconds. So if they're sticking around for a whole minute, that's a lot of time. And so if you can keep it short and sweet, do that. If it needs to be broken down into multiple, you do that. Like, for example, I did a post this past weekend knowing it's going to be part 1 because it was for Windows. And then I'm going to do a part 2 next week that's Mac specific. But I knew that, planning it so that when I was doing my recording, I can speak to that. You also want to think about those topics that take more time to cover. That example I just gave you, I know I need more than 2 minutes and I have to break it into 2 parts. You can break it into as many parts as you need, as long as the parts can stand alone to some degree by themselves. That's a little tricky, but particularly for those who are getting into Reels and TikToks and the video type stuff, that's important. If you're not getting into that and it's just photo image based, it's a little bit easier because you can use the captions to fill in the blanks. So here's an example of a content calendar. This is our methodology for how we plan. You can use whatever method works for you, but this helps us stay organized. We've got topic, subtopics, the caption, the images. We're using stock images for this client because they don't have professional photography. That is also okay. If you are using images in your social media that are stock images, just make sure they're licensed and you have the right to use them. And then also do not copy images from the internet, just to make sure that you do not get yourself into a situation of copyright infringement. That's why it's always important to use stock images, royalty-free images, or if you are using someone else's photo, you have either their permission or you give them credit if you're resharing their content. We also have a list of hashtags here that we research ahead of time, and then we have our dates so that we have a schedule. If you look at the schedule, you can see that we're not posting every day. In this case, it's almost every few days because we were doing some catch up. But the idea here is that we have several topics and then we repeat it. So the main topics are their products, the ingredients in the product, then the product itself, and then their adjacent topic as part of their values are women empowerment. So they've included women empowerment in their content strategy so that it's clear that, yes, we have products. These are the benefits of our products, but this is how we give back to the community. So if you're a business that's doing volunteer activity, that are, doing community type activity, whether it's paid or not, include those type of things. People want to know, how engaged are you with the people that you support? The biggest thing I can tell you today is that advertising is not marketing. It is very often that people do posts like this, where this just says SEO service for small businesses. That's advertising. I'm just telling you what I do. I'm promoting my service. Marketing is identifying their need and determining how to meet their need so that you can build brand awareness and credibility. Here's the same tile. And if I were to post it again and say, how to update your title and meta description on your WordPress website. That is a very specific SEO tip. That is something that a business owner who's tech savvy or entrepreneur can take based on the details I'm going to give and then go implement themselves. That is the difference right there between value creation, which is on the right for marketing, and advertising, which is basically just telling them we have this service. This is something very important for your social media strategy. The more you advertise, the less likely you are to get business from social media. You need to look more to marketing and solving problems and giving information that's either educational, motivational, helpful in some way. You always have to ask yourself, why are they watching this? Why would they stay watching this if it's just simply pushing your products or promoting? The rule of thumb is 80-20. If 80% of the time you're creating value and only 20% of the time you have a call to action or you're listing your products or services, that's fine. If you have a new location that's coming soon, you're going to want to put that out there. And while that is slight advertising against your value creation, that's very important because they need to know when the location is opening. There are some exceptions to the rules. So here are some things that you can do to create value. First thing you want to do is solve their problem. Think about what the pain points are that your customers are dealing with. Using SEO and Instagram as an example, many of you are on here because your pain point may be you're not sure how to build your content. You may not know how to understand SEO for Instagram. You may not know why your follower list is not growing. These are some common things people have told me about their Instagram. So I know that those are problems I can solve. I can provide motivation and inspiration so I can, share with fellow business owners, like commiserate to some degree. You want to be careful with the negativity and focus on the positive where you can. Answer frequently asked questions. As business owners, I'm sure you get several questions a lot. You can address those on social, whether you talk to them, whether you do it as a Q&A type post. There are many ways that you can address them right on social media. Share tips and tricks, bust myths, and then more importantly, if you can, show your brand in action. I personally struggle with this because all I sit all day long and sit here and type. I don't know how I would show my brand in action by just typing up my computer all day. But if I was meeting with a client this morning who's a tailor, we have photos of him measuring folks, walking folks through the process of getting something custom made. Those are behind the scenes type things that people are kind of interested in. People like the how it worked types videos. Show them. So here are some do's and don'ts. So the first thing you want to do is write keyword-rich, meaningful captions. In the past, you would write a caption that was, let's say it was Mondays, and it's like, oh, I have the case of the Monday blues, right? Or just Monday blues. You might not write anything keyword-rich, right? But if you're looking like in this case, we're talking about SEO, I could post something that says, oh, have a case of the Monday blues. I'm powering through it by figuring out how to target my clients a little better. Now that's a very terrible caption. I'd have to research that a little better. The point is that don't write something so glib. Often people want to read a little bit more, but also Instagram is reading a little bit more. Instagram will only show your content to people if it understands what your content is about so that it can match you to your target audience. Keep that in mind, right? Your caption is helping you get matched. So you want to make sure your caption is meeting what that person is looking for. You want to post regularly to your feed. And just to reiterate the structure of your Instagram, for those of you not familiar, on your home screen, your feed goes up and down. Those are things that are quote unquote permanent unless you delete them or they get taken down for some community violation, but they're there. Your Insta story goes across the top. There's a little circles that disappear after 24 hours. So when I say post regularly to your feed 2 to 3 times a week, I'm talking about the content that goes up and down. And then your Insta story, you can post as often as you need. This is where you would share some of your favorite sports teams, your values, your interests, content from other creators, content from other people, whether it's motivational, whether it's, be part of your community. If there's a storm coming and you see the news outlet posting, some guidelines for being prepared for the storm, there's nothing wrong in sharing that to your Insta story. Your target audience may see that as, oh, this person cares about my safety, cares about the community, and is sharing it. Think along those lines, how you add value to your digital community. You want to post your business team. If you have a team of people, it's important that it's not the all about you show. It's not like only you. In my case, I have 4 people that work with me and none of them want to be on social media. So I end up having to be the face of the business. I've tried a few times to get them to do stuff, but it's not their interest and I have to respect that. So that part is a bit nuanced. Share tips and tricks, find ways to help your people or show them like a little thing. There's nothing wrong with giving away a little to get more in the end. People want to know that you're here to help them and work with them. If you are responding to comments, respond to them positively. It's a bit tricky because especially when you have the negative Nancy's that want to either correct you or, contradict you, there are ways that you can come up with canned responses. If somebody's contradicting you, unless they're blatantly wrong, it could just be another way of doing things. You could say something kind of neutral and say, thank you for that. That's a great way of doing it as an alternative. That's one way of responding to someone who's quote unquote contradicting you on social media so that you can stay positive. The goal is not to get reported. The more your account gets reported for negativity, the less your content will get seen because Instagram will see those as red flags and downgrade your content. You want to use quality photos or stock images. If you're taking the photos yourself, I highly recommend you check out some YouTubes, talk to people who are photographers, or just some best practices. Watch your lighting. Make sure that the light is in front of whatever it is that you're trying to do and it's not in shadow. Watch your background. If there's garbage bins or dirty looking things and you're taking a photo, can you move those out of the way? Sometimes taking a photo from Instagram can take a few tries. So make sure you're doing that. Also check for blurriness. The reality is that with today's day and age, with photo editing and AI tools, there's not a lot of forgiveness for terrible photos. People just say that you don't know what you're doing, and then they dismiss you as a potential business. So be a little careful with that. You don't need to hire a professional photographer all the time. Quality stock images, if you take them yourself, just some best practices can help you there. You want to make sure you're engaging with your audience. So that's liking, commenting, sharing. I'm actually going to give you a list in a little bit so that you can take those away, things you can do. You want to tag on to trending topics. Like, for example, the Super Bowl was last week. That was a big trending topic. Now, if anyone's talking about the Super Bowl this week, might seem a bit out of touch. The Super Bowl's gone. Everybody's moved on to some degree. Like a month from now, will anybody care about the Super Bowl? Those are some things to think about. There is a trick to that though. Every now and then you might have a photo or a video from something like, let's say Super Bowl weekend, and just didn't get a chance to post it. You can post it on a Thursday and use the hashtag TBT, Throwback Thursday, and then write your caption that explains what you were doing when. And that does help you bring back some of that older content that seems a bit irrelevant in the moment. And then you also want to have a separate personal account. Your personal account, your feed will be curated to your interests. Once you start doing the activity to build your business feed, the feed itself will become uninteresting to you. You're going to start seeing content that you personally may not have an interest in, but it's the stuff that is driving up your engagement numbers. So you need to keep doing that. So I always recommend you have a personal account. If you are a private person and that's where you want to share your friends, your family, your children, your pets, you can do that. It's up to you if you want to make your personal account private or public and associating with your business account. There's no requirement there other than your personal account is where you're going to share. Like if every day you have a doggy photo you want to share and the dog doesn't really have a lot to do with your business, maybe your personal page is where you're going to post that. But people love dogs too. So you could post that to your Insta story for, dog of the day kind of thing. Here's some things you don't want to do. You don't want to over post to your feed. What does that mean? You don't want to post every single day to your feed itself. What happens is that every now and then Instagram takes all of your content for the whole week. And on let's say you posted Monday to Friday, 5 days in a row. On Sunday, your end user may see the entire 5 posts in a row and become oversaturated, for lack of a better word, and may question, why am I seeing this content so much? And then go and unfollow you. We've definitely seen that happen with some client accounts. People are fickle. So you want to be enough in front of them that you're not, being too much, but you don't want to be out of sight, out of mind simultaneously. So that's why we recommend 2 to 3 times a week, 4 at the maximum. Your Insta story post as often as you want, but this is more in your feed. You don't want to make your feed all about me. Leverage your Insta story for that. Unless, of course, your feed, your business is you. Like if you are a life coach and it needs you talking to people, then yes, your feed is all about you. In my case, I'm using my feed to talk about SEO tips and tricks. So it ended up being all about me, and I'm trying to shift that a little bit. But it's one of those things where you just got to be a little careful. Just make sure whatever you're posting, like if I'm running a marketing page for EdgeSpace Marketing and every day I'm posting a selfie for myself, you guys may follow me and go, why is she posting her selfie again? What does that have to do with marketing? Versus using Instagram and TikTok to post marketing tips and tricks. Although my face is on it, it is helpful to you and you may continue to watch it. You don't want to post topics that are irrelevant to your audience. So for example, if I'm posting on my marketing page, SEO tips and tricks, it's about web design, those kind of things. And then all of a sudden I'm posting to my Insta story or my feed, plumbing tips. Unless it's a client spotlight, you may go, why is a marketing company posting plumbing tips, right? Not unless I gave some type of story around what just happened to me, my pump, my dishwasher broke or something and I fixed it. That's something you can post to your Insta story if it seems relevant. So this is a little nuanced, but you do want to just keep in mind, what does my audience want and how do I make sure I stay interesting to them? You want to make sure you're not using badly filtered, unfocused, or dark images. I mentioned that earlier. Don't forget to use hashtags. While you do not need to use as many hashtags as before, you want to try to use at least 5 hashtags that fit into your niche. I'll give you some strategies in terms of how do you determine which hashtags to use. And then if it's possible, don't miss a trending topic window. So what does that mean? That means if you have like a catering business and you were catering a Super Bowl party, that's a trending topic. You should have been talking about that before the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, maybe success photos, and then whatever the next event is. That's a trending topic you can jump on. That's a big one, but it's something you can do. So we talked about these keywords. Let's figure out how you find them. So first thing you can do is figure out your head term. This is a very, very broad topic. I'm showing you here, this has a hashtag in the search. I'm doing this on purpose to show you that although I put a hashtag in my search, the results it gave me does not always include hashtags. In the past, the only way to search on Instagram was the hashtags. Now you can actually just, as it shows there, gardening tips, gardening life, gardening Australia, apparently. They think that I live in Australia, according to my content I've been engaging with. What you want to do is check here to see, okay, Instagram is recommending these type of keywords for this search. This is an indicator to you that if I was something in the planting business, gardening tips is a keyword phrase I want to use somewhere. Gardening life could be a keyword phrase I want to use somewhere. And then the gardening Australia, I know I'm not based in Australia. I could throw that away, unless of course my target audience is there. So you don't necessarily want to use everything recommended, but it does give you a sense of where to get started. What you're looking for in this next set is the search frequency or the posting frequency. Gardening has 2.68 million posts using that hashtag. Gardening Life has 1.1 million posts using that hashtags. And then this one, Gardening Ideas, has 247,000 posts. Now, how do you decide which of these to use? What you're trying to do is figure out, these are what I would like to call highly competitive, meaning there's a lot of content that's going to show up for that hashtag, and you've got to figure out how to get near the top. You may be way in the back. So this is where you have to consider mixing them up a little bit. High volume, low search. Sometimes they're niche. You made it up. It's not even on the list. That's also okay. Just don't do too many that show up on that you made up. You need to mix that up with some ones that are performing. So how do you identify your keywords? There are tools that can help you. If you use SEO keyword research tools, WordStream is free. There's also SEMrush and Ahrefs that have paid plans. They might have some freemium versions. They're constantly adjusting their pricing, so that may or may not still be free. And then there are hashtag research tools specifically for Instagram in keywords.io. And personally in our team, we use Inflact. And we use those to just kind of help us identify what are the keywords, but also it gives us ideas of content as well. Sometimes if we're seeing a keyword phrase for SEO image optimization, then I know I need to do a post or something about SEO image optimization. That's how you want to use those kind of strategically. As you develop your hashtag strategy, here is a list that when we were pulling 30 hashtags at a time, this is the list we would use. This list is still relevant, but what I would recommend is use this list, make a giant list of hashtags, and then when you're posting, pull 5 to 10 per post. You want to mix up your hashtag and not overuse too many. If you're constantly overusing a hashtag or a hashtag set, meaning you have the same 10 and you're copy and pasting them over and over, Instagram will flag you for that. And they may or may not move your content up the way you want it. It can negatively impact your ranking for certain posts or certain keywords. You may even get all the way to what's called shadow ban, which means that when they click on it, you don't show up at all for that particular hashtag, even though you're using it. Instagram banned you from it. So that's why you want to mix up. So this is a list to help you identify it. Sit down one day and make a giant list. Maybe once a quarter, review the list. People's search behavior is constantly changing. Their interests are changing, but also the way they're searching is changing. So the more you kind of take a look at this, the more you're able to adapt to people's changing interest and search patterns. So let's talk a little bit about the Explore page. How does the Explore page work? For those of you who are familiar with Instagram, this is not going to seem new. For those of you not, this is very important. Your home feed displays content from friends, family, people you follow, and then the suggested reels, as I mentioned earlier, because Instagram is trying to promote those reels. But the most important part of the Explore page is that it surfaces content from accounts that users have no direct connection with. So that means anybody in your Explore page, not usually people that you're already following because they would have been on your homepage. This goes for your users. This is where we as business owners are trying to get our content seen. So for example, if somebody's typing in SEO tips, I want to show up in the Explore feed for them if they're not already following me or familiar with me. But the Explore page is personalized for each end user and how they engage with others on Instagram. I know that's a mouthful, so let me try that again. So essentially, I, Nalini, am using Instagram, and my Explore page is giving me content Instagram thinks I want to see based on things I've already posted, things that I've liked, followed, commented on, those type of things. Now, you don't have access per se to your end users to know what they're liking, commenting, and posting on, but you do know from your research what type of keywords they're looking for, what type of content they're interested in. If you focus on building quality content, you're more likely to get seen by your target audience. And then the content is more likely to appear in this Explore page for your users, your potential clients, if you've interacted with their pages before. What does that mean? That means that while you were in your Explore page, and I'll show you how to do this a little bit, you've encountered their page and you've liked something, commented on it. This is a little trickier if they have private accounts, but there's a lot of public accounts out there that you can engage with to build that following and get your content shown in the Explore page. So let me show you my personal account versus my business account. My personal account is on the right, the left. My business account is on the right. I looked up the word plants in both accounts and notice there's a slight difference. In my personal account, I have plant decor and then I have air plants. On my business account, I have plant decor and ZZ plants as the recommendation. Now that's a very small difference, but it's enough to show you I'm using my business account a little different than my personal account. Next up, we have recommended pages. These are accounts or pages that Instagram thinks I would be interested in because people who are like me, based on my profile that Instagram has liked this content. Maybe I've crossed their content in my Explore page when I'm doing my exploration. There's a couple different factors there, but I want you to notice how there are some similarities, but it is quite different because I'm using the account slightly different. I'm following different pages, doing different things. Here, when I actually enter the search, at the top of it, you'll notice they're identical. That's not unusual. The reason for that is that that's mostly viral content. That's content they know thousands and hundreds of people have liked it, so I'm probably going to like it too. So there's no variance there. But here, this next set, there are some of the same things, but they're in a different order. Again, Instagram is looking at how I'm using the content, how people like me are using content and saying, these things are similar. This is how you may like them or what you may like. Now, this is very, very nuanced and very minor, but it's very important to understand how Instagram is customizing the results, search results to your end users. Going a little further into the Explore page, the first thing you'll see are top. Top means top performing posts. These are viral posts. These are, especially if you're looking at something niche, it might not be viral, but it is the top performing post in that section. Then you have accounts. These are the accounts that have the keyword in either their name, their handle, and maybe their description. It just depends on how Instagram is kind of messing with their algorithm that day, but definitely their name. And that's where I'll show you how that looks in a moment. And their handle. The handle is the @. So for example, my handle is EdgeSpace MKTG. My name in Instagram is EdgeSpace Marketing. So I've got marketing in one place, but I've got the MKTG because that matches my domain and I was looking for consistency. So there's a slight nuance in terms of how you're looking at your branding. Then we have audio. So this is for trending tracks related to what you're talking about. So if people who are into Reels and TikToks are getting paid with these audios, the point of this is just to show you how the page is set up. You don't necessarily need this unless you're doing Reels. Then you have tags. This is where you're going to see the hashtags that relate specifically to what you're looking for that have the word phrase. And I want to show you the difference here. If you've noticed, I've not used the hashtag in my search. The previous screenshots had a hashtag and I got the same results. So the point is you no longer need the hashtags, and that's why hashtags are not as important. And then lastly, these are locations. These are specific businesses with the name gardening in the name. If you're looking for a region, you can do that as well. If you're looking for cities and towns, you can do that as well. And then we get to the most important thing for your SEO and your building your Instagram following, which is community engagement. The more you interact with users and content, the more likely your content will show up in the Explore page. This is where you are liking, commenting, saving content that you see. You are watching and engaging with the Insta stories. So every now and then when you're watching your Insta stories, send an emoji reaction. If they have polls or interactive stickers, engage with the sticker. You want to stay as positive as possible. This can be tricky, as I mentioned before. As you start to post, everything you post, you run the risk of somebody contradicting you, somebody raising an alarm on something, and you can decide if the post itself becomes controversial, you're welcome to take it down. I don't recommend you keep those type of things up unless the conversation it's stroking is okay and you don't mind. So this is all about protecting your business and your brand identity while you're doing that. And just make sure that when you do want to address somebody, just do it in a manner that won't get you reported, because the more you get reported, the less likely your account will move up in the rankings as you see fit. So here's how you build your engagement. I've given you this slide as a whole so that you can take in everything. What you're looking for is to spend about 20 minutes a day. This is a very long list. You can pick and choose from the list, but you're ideally aiming for 20 minutes a day where you're either liking and commenting on posts in your feed and your Discover feed. You're following hashtags and accounts so that you can discover more content. You want to follow back all the public pages that follow you. You want to search for cities, towns, and states where your clients are based or where you want them to come from. If you're a hyper local business, let's say you're based in Stanford and you can only do business in Stanford, you're probably looking to target clients in Stanford. So this is an organic way of doing it without paying for advertising. And then of course, respond to comments and DMs when you can, unless it's spam. If you know it's blatantly spam, the ones that, advertise it here, send it here, those we tend to leave alone. Things that are directly pornographic, we delete those and we report the account so that those accounts can stop showing up on our page, because we don't want that type of content for our audience. And then your Insta story is a great place to repost content from other brands and businesses within your niche, within your value system, within your community. Those type of things are very important for your target audience to see how you engage with other content. You do want to engage with your audience. If you're comfortable using your Insta story, there are stickers that can help you do audience engagement, from things like asking questions, doing polls. Those kind of things are a great way to build up engagement. And then of course, this is where, if you're comfortable, you can share your viewpoint and your values by either resharing content, talking about it, writing about it. There's a couple different ways to use your Insta story, but that's the space for those type of things. One thing that some people do use or not use, it just depends on your comfort level, is something called alt text, which means alternative text. It is used for folks with e-readers or ADA compliance, where they have some type of reading disability and they have the screen describing the photo. It helps with visual impairment when users can't view the image, but it does help provide context. So what you want to do is, when you're going into your post, I'm going to show you where you go to do that. You have advanced settings down at the bottom when you're creating a new post. And in here, you have things that you can do, such as turning off commenting, sharing your post to Facebook, but way down at the bottom is write alt text. Now, Instagram has a recognition technology that can generate the descriptions. So you can either look at the automatically generated descriptions and edit it, or you can write your own. Now, this is something I would call an advanced step, where I would only recommend folks who are comfortable with this level of tech to go that far. The one thing you want to be careful is, don't keyword stuff that. If you're describing the image, actually describe the image. So if I were to describe my last reel, I would say women speaking about SEO tips and tricks, and then maybe give a couple lines. It's not a big space to write a lot, so you're going to have to play with that. But the point of this is to actually describe the image. You can get creative, but don't go too far off where you're not actually describing the image anymore. So then you also want to optimize your Instagram profile for search. How do you make your profile work for you? This is your bio. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Instagram, this is your bio page. Here is the description in my bio, where I have keywords like SEO, web development, social media management, and I have a couple other things. I've got a couple of hashtags in there as well. You don't have to do that. The key for this is you have 120 characters. So you want to be as smart as you can, because those characters includes emoji and spaces. So this was me fitting everything in a tiny little space, so I don't have a lot of room to say a lot. It also helps people understand the type of content they can expect from your profile. So this is where you want to help people understand why they should follow you. So in this case, I'm telling people this is what my website, my business is about. Then you also want to determine if you want to include your keywords in your handle. So up here is my handle, as I mentioned earlier, EdgeSpace MKTG. Now I'm deliberately calling it MKTG because I want it to match my domain name. I had it as marketing before, but I realized all my other social media handles were abbreviated, so I'm keeping the abbreviation. But here in my name, it directly says marketing. So if somebody's looking for marketing, I will show up. Now, this is a little tricky if your business doesn't have that. So you would want to name your business here. If you are a solopreneur or you're not an entrepreneur per se, where it's a specific business and it's about you, put your name there so that people can know who they're dealing with and what the page is about. And then if you are a business that has a physical location, please, please, please put your actual location in the location field of your bio. Too often we see coffee shops, restaurants, businesses with a physical storefront, a brick and mortar, and their address is not in their profile. One of the things that people do is when they discover you in their explore feed and the discover feed, they may go, oh, is this business even in my vicinity? Can I find them? And when they go to your profile, if they're trying to dig around to figure out if you actually are in a location they can visit you, they're going to give up and they're going to go find your competition. It's very rare that they're going to take the time to DM you. They have to really have fallen in love with your content to DM you and figure out where you are. So make it easy for them and put your location in there if you have a physical brick and mortar place where they can come visit you. Excuse me. And then here's where the edit profile button is to go in and edit your profile. I won't go show you that screen because we're going to run out of time today. So how do you optimize your post? Here's some quick recaps of what we just talked about. Be descriptive in your post caption. Use the main body of the caption to target those specific high value keywords. So for example, we're talking about today in SEO tips for Instagram, how to increase your reach. I can write a little blurb talking specifically about what we covered if I did a recap post for today or a promo post for it. You want to use hashtags. Instagram allows up to 30. We say aim for 5 to 10 per post. It's no longer needed to aim for all of those because you're writing keyword rich captions. You want to have a combination of your topic, your niche, your location, brand, trending topics. These are ideas for your hashtag or even your captions. You don't need all of these in any given post, but some combination or one or the other for any given post. And then where possible, use the alt text description on your images. So here are some best practices or next steps that you can do just this week, just this month. We're about the end of February. I always recommend for everyone to spend 5 to 10 hours at the end of the month planning next month's content. 5 to 10 hours is a lot when you're first starting because you need to research and figure out what your niches are, what your topics are, how you want to lay it out. Once you finally lay out what that will look like, it gets easier every month. You're only doing 2 to 3 hours per month. You're no longer spending 5 to 10 hours every month figuring out content. And then you want to schedule 20 minutes per day to perform engagement activities. One of the easiest things you can do is take your phone while you're sitting here, turn off the screen timeout and run your Insta stories. Those are the Insta stories from other people. So it looks like you're watching it. For right now, Instagram hasn't enabled a feature where they can see your eyeballs looking at the screen, which I'm sure that's going to be coming soon because I know that was a functionality smartphones were coming up with some time ago. So for now, we can get away with running the Insta stories without actually looking at them. It's a little cheat to help you grow your following without necessarily having to spend a ton of time. Brainstorm your topics. Sit with somebody either familiar with your business or unfamiliar with your business, but enough that they can understand when you're throwing out random topics. Make a list of any and everything and then whittle it down so you can build out your content calendar, build your hashtag lists, and just make sure that when you're writing your captions, be relatable and be authentic. The worst thing you can do as a business is talk about yourself in the third person. So you do want to talk about yourself in the first person when you are writing these captions, or talk directly to your users. Use the word you, your. Don't necessarily say a client or the client unless you were specifically giving like a client spotlight and you're talking about a specific person. If it's generic, talk to them, not at them. Solve problems by understanding what their pain points are. Don't sell your service, and create value as you write your informative captions based on your research. So that was a lot, but I wanted to make sure we had enough time for questions. So Bob, I'm going to open it up for the Q&A. I see a lot of numbers in the bubble.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Nalini. We do have a lot of questions, and we'll take as many as we can up until the top of the hour. Just as a reminder, if you want to type in a question, you can use the Q&A button on your screen, and we'll say just take as many as we can. Our first one is from Patricia. Actually, two questions. One, how do I discourage those jerks who keep sending me annoying requests to send my images for them to share for a fee? And secondly, I'm an artist, so naturally I use only my own images. Do you ever use your own original art or purchase art to use?
So the first question is a very good question. These are those spam accounts that show up as soon as you post. I don't know how they do it. The minute you post, you get a ding that says, DM it over here so you can reshare it. DM it here for free exposure, or we'll charge you. You can decide to delete the comments if you want. We tend to leave them, Patricia. And the reason for that is that it counts for your engagement score. The only ones that we really worry about are the blatantly pornographic ones, or the ones that are trying to sell your customer on service, like DM me for a free this, or those, like, you'll understand those when you see them. Anything where they're just talking to you, the business owner, DM it here for a feature, you can ignore it. That's not the end of the world. If they're there, they give you free engagement points. Using your own images is always recommended if you have them. And I think I mentioned it earlier. Yes, you can license stock photos where needed so that you can augment your current content.
Great. The next one is from Monica, and I think you covered some of this, but maybe just clarify it. And the question is, how does one figure out what hashtags to use?
Yeah, so to quickly recap that, to figure out what hashtags to use, a couple of things that I would do. Go into Instagram and search for the topic. You don't have to use it as a hashtag, just search in the topic that you're looking for. See what content comes up, look at what they're posting and see what they use. There's nothing wrong in figuring out the most viral content use these 8 hashtags. Go ahead and use those 8 hashtags. Don't use their captions, but use their hashtags. You can also use any one of the keyword SEO keyword research tools or hashtag tools that I mentioned before.
Okay, the next one is from Donna. You mentioned posting things you were doing for your community. What can I post if I'm not doing anything for my community just yet? Should I just leave that portion out?
So that's a very good question, Donna, especially when you're new to business. If you live in your community, and especially with the pandemic, most people may, some people are out, some people are not yet out. That can be a little tricky. What I would recommend is go into your communities to search for, let's say, Stanford, for an example. Search for Stanford, go to the top post from Stanford, see who's posting what, and see if there's anything from your community you can share to your Insta story. That still counts as community engagement. It also helps you connect with other business owners, other people who may be working for the community. You may find, I have some very long-lasting Instagram friendships. Never met the people, no interest in meeting the people, but we talk a lot on Instagram about like-minded topics. So this helps to build your engagement points, even if you're not actually out yet in the community doing things.
Okay, perfect. Here's one from Carol. Did the overall rules change depending on the size of your company? Does a small startup making a product do it differently than Tory Burch or Frontgate?
Well, technically, yes, because Tory Burch or Frontgate probably have millions of dollars to spend on a marketing agency. So they're automatically going to win. Some things that help are for those guys is that they have brand recognition already. So you're not going to be able to compete in that. And so that's why I always say small businesses have to start at the top of the marketing funnel with awareness. This is why places like Tory Burch and Apple and those places can focus on advertising and less on value creation, because they have the brand recognition. By that alone, they're valuable. I know that doesn't help, but it's something to keep in mind. Small business owners, we got to start at the bottom and build our following.
A couple more from Patricia. Do you use Discord for AMAs, and how do you share things already posted on Instagram?
So I'm not familiar with Discord for AMAs. I'm going to make a note to go look that up, Patricia. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question. But how do you share posts already on Insta? That's when you go into Instagram on any singular post, there's a little airplane icon. I call it the arrow. It's like a little paper airplane. When you click on that, If it's a public page, it'll say add to story or share to your story. And then you just click that and then it opens up in your story, and then you can add stickers to it, add commentary, and then just share it and it'll go out to your Insta story. So you don't have to download anything and do it. When you click the little share icon as if you were going to DM it to somebody, that little paper airplane, that'll give you the option to add to your Insta story. Depending on if it's a public or private account. Private accounts, you may not see that option because that person's content is private.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Here's one on content creation from Monica. Content creation consumes time and energy, which small business owners do not have, especially SEO-rich content. Are there good quality, inexpensive content development resources we can access? Someone told me that one could contract with an MBA to write an article for $50. Do not know whether that's a good way to go. So maybe you just comment on the general question regarding content.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And actually, I was trying to figure out how to squeeze it in, but I just didn't. You saw I didn't have enough time to put it in. So there's a couple ways that you can work on that, Monica, and this goes for everybody. AI tools are your friend with caution. ChatGPT, Jasper.ai, these are some of the tools that are. ChatGPT is free for right now. My personal opinion is that soon will probably be a paid functionality, or they'll have some type of limits on it. Jasper AI is another content creation tool that everybody's raving about. We're looking into trying it for the business. This can help you start your content creation. So what I always recommend is, since ChatGPT is free, go in right now and type in, let's say I typed in SEO tips. See what it says, and then take it and wordsmith it, rewrite it. Don't use it as is. Part of the problem is that your competition is doing the same thing. So if you're using the content as is, you will all now have the same content, which doesn't help you stand out from your competition. Secondly, my personal concern is copyright infringement. We don't know the source of some of this information. So if you're using it directly, you may run into copyright infringement issues if that's copyrighted content. So if you wordsmith everything that you get, just like we did in high school and college for papers, you should be fine, and that can get you started with your content creation. You could also hire somebody from Fiverr, Upwork, an MBA to write blogs and those type of things if you want.
Yeah, good sources there. Here's one from Carol, and I think you covered a lot of this, but again, you can recap it. How do we name our JPEGs or PNGs to enhance the search for our products?
Now, this is a very good question. And in terms of SEO, the answer is use your keywords. In terms of Instagram SEO, I haven't seen a direct correlation yet between the file name and your search results. So for those of you who are not familiar with what she's talking about, is the recommendation is whenever you're uploading an image to your website, you're going to rename the image from Adobe Stock 12345 or image 123456 to SEO tips and trick. Like, it's a keyword rich file name, and that matters on your website. For Instagram, we do not yet know if it matters. I've run an experiment. I haven't seen too much of a variance in performance. So my tip for now is, if you want to rename the files, do it. If you don't have capacity, I don't think it matters that much just yet. That may change in a few months, but as of now, not necessarily a big deal.
Okay. Here's a couple of questions from Jarena. Do we follow all the public pages who follow us, even if we have a business account? As the first one. And can you add a location hashtag one city, and at the same time choose current location, which is different from the hashtag location?
So the first part of the question is, do you want to follow all the public pages that follow you, even if we have a business account? That's exactly where you want to follow it from, is your business account. Because if you're not following back those pages, chances are they may not follow you. This is kind of it used to be follow for follow. That's the mentality. The reason is that when you follow a page, often the person who's managing that page may go look at your profile and say, hey, I wonder who these people are and why they followed me. And so that's kind of the idea of why you want to follow them, because it gives them a sense of you're interested in them as well. It also gives you an opportunity to engage with them when you're liking and following down your liking and commenting in your home feed. And then also their content or their, in their network, if you want to look at it as a web, you will show up in their friends' potential discover feed. So that's why it's important to follow back those public pages. Adding a location for one city and then choosing another one is fine. Just be careful that when you're adding the hashtag for the city that's different than the one you're tagging, there's a reason for that. You don't want to confuse your users into saying, okay, you're targeting, you wrote in hashtag North Carolina, and then you've got location tag New York City. As long as somehow they can understand why you have both of those, that's all that you want to worry about.
Perfect. Here's another one from Patricia's a common name today. You didn't talk about Reels, which everyone is claiming how you are going to be seen all over the content. So you do you have some thoughts on Reels?
Yeah, Reels are important and tricky. If you are somebody comfortable in front of the camera, go for it. Here's my issue with Reels. Reels involves a lot of practicing, planning, and video production. Any one Reel that I post for my business takes me about an hour. I don't know how many business owners have an hour every single week to dedicate to marketing. I'm doing everybody else's, so I don't have time for my own, but knowing that it helps me, I've made a concerted effort. It's taken me a whole year to even get started, and I'm trying to stay consistent. Can't say I've been successful yet. So I will say, yes, use Reels if you have the capacity and the know-how, or you can hire the right person to do it for you. I will caution you that if you're a business owner who's not tech savvy and you're planning to use a college student or an intern, that person, if they're putting their face on it or their voice on it, will become the face and the voice of your business. And if that person happens to go viral, they can take your content, your clients with you. So you want to be mindful of, if you are using a third party, that it's you, that it's still your business and not them.
Very helpful. Here's one from Rita. Can you talk a little bit about the circles underneath your profile?
Those are your Insta stories. So you may have recalled, I mentioned earlier, you've got your feed and your Insta story. And I did see a question about that. Those circles are the Insta story. They're the Instagram version of Snapchat. They disappear after 24 hours. They give you engagement and interactive. And those are actually chronological, where your feed shows up whenever and however Instagram decides.
Okay. We have one here from Brianna. I have over 10K on our account. I assume that's followers, but engagement has decreased a bunch. Do you have a retargeting strategy for getting back in front of those who follow us?
So two things are usually at play when you see that type of thing happening, Brianna. First thing is your content strategy is not meeting their needs. So for some reason, they're not finding it engaging or interesting to stick around anymore, or like it, or share it, whatever it is. So see if you change your strategy, but it's probably more likely that your user behavior is changing. As you gain more followers, it's going to skew how users engage, because your new followers may be interested in something your old followers or not, right? So you kind of have to balance that. So I would say retake a look at your strategy. Maybe you need to research because consumer behavior changed, and definitely step up your engagement, your personal engagement. Step that up a little and you may see a direct correlation.
Fortunately, we are 1 minute past the hour, so that's all the time we have questions for. Just as a reminder to everyone, and we've had a number of queries, the webinar has been recorded, and a recording will be up on our website within the next day or so, fairfieldcounty.score.org, under on-demand webinars. And our next live webinar will be this Thursday, February 23rd. The topic is Networking Like a Pro, How to Get Business from Networking, with Mila Kalmer presenting. And again, you can get specifics on our website. If you'd like to take advantage of the free individual counseling, you can use that yellow bit.ly link you see on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on Request a Mentor. We'd really appreciate it if you could fill out your evaluations. They're very helpful to us. And on behalf of SCORE, thank you all for attending today's live webinar. And in closing, big thank you to Nalini for another great webinar today. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy your day. Thanks, Nalini.